Across the world today, millions of people are not free. They are bought. They are sold. They are exploited for profit. Human trafficking is often described as modern slavery. Yet Scripture warned of such a condition long ago. In Revelation chapter 18 verse 12, describing a future global economic system, we encounter a chilling phrase: merchandise of bodies and souls of men. How does this ancient warning connect to the world we are living in today? Tonight, we examine human trafficking through the lens of Bible prophecy. Human trafficking involves the exploitation of people through force, fraud, or coercion. It includes sexual exploitation, forced labor, debt bondage, domestic servitude. Around the globe, an estimated 27 million people are trapped in some form of modern slavery. This crisis is not confined to one region or culture. It exists in developed and developing nations alike. This industry generates enormous illegal profit each year, demonstrating that exploitation is not accidental. It is driven by greed. The U.S. State Department has stated, "Human trafficking is a stain on the conscience of our society. It fuels crime, corruption, and violence. It distorts our economies and harms our workers. And it violates the fundamental right of all people to be free." Scripture does not treat exploitation lightly. In Exodus chapter 21, verse 16, we read, "Kidnappers must be put to death, whether they are caught in possession of their victims or have already sold them as slaves." Under biblical law, kidnapping and selling a human being was a capital offense. Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 7, reinforces this command. "If anyone kidnaps a fellow Israelite and treats him as a slave or sells him, the kidnapper must die. In this way, you will purge the evil from among you." God made his position unmistakably clear. Human life is not property. Psalm chapter 82 condemns those who prey upon the weak. Verse 3-4, "Give justice to the poor and the orphan. Uphold the rights of the oppressed and the destitute. Rescue the poor and helpless. Deliver them from the grasp of evil people." Proverbs chapter 31 verses 8 and 9 adds, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Ensure justice for those being crushed." The biblical standard is clear: the protection of the vulnerable, not profit from them. It is sobering to confront the depths of human wickedness. There are those who show no regard for the lives of others. In the United States alone, abortions numbered approximately 1.1 million, according to the Charlotte Lozier Institute, representing roughly a 20% increase from 2017 to 2023, reversing a decades-long decline. When respect for the sanctity of human life is weakened, it becomes easier for grave injustices, such as human trafficking, to take root. Isaiah chapter 1, verses 5 and 6 describes a society that is spiritually sick. "Your whole head is injured, and your whole heart afflicted. From the sole of your foot even to your head, there is no soundness." This diagnosis applies not only to ancient Israel, but to the modern world as well. When societies lose reverence for life, exploitation increases. When profit becomes supreme, people become expendable. Revelation 18 describes a powerful global economic system, symbolized as Babylon. The chapter lists goods traded across the earth: gold, silver, fine linen, livestock, and then concludes with a final, horrifying category: bodies and souls of men. Human beings are included in commerce. This is not merely ancient imagery. It is a warning about a future system in which economic power overrides moral restraint. Human trafficking, forced labor, and extreme exploitation reflect the spirit of this system. Scripture does not suggest these conditions will improve prior to Christ's return. Instead, it describes a world growing increasingly commercialized and spiritually hardened. Yet it also promises that this system will fall. Today, human trafficking manifests in many forms. In some regions, individuals are forced into labor in agriculture, manufacturing, or domestic service. In others, vulnerable populations are targeted for sexual exploitation. Serious concerns have also been raised regarding abuses within organ procurement systems in parts of the world. On July 25, 2025, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services announced a major initiative to reform the organ transplant system following an investigation that revealed disturbing practices. Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. stated, "Hospitals allowed the organ procurement process to begin when patients showed signs of life. The entire system must be fixed to ensure that every potential donor's life is treated with the sanctity it deserves." There is also considerable evidence suggesting that the Chinese Communist Party allows, or sanctions, the harvesting of organs from its citizens. China has claimed that all organs are sourced from voluntary donors. Yet official donor figures account for only a fraction of reported transplant operations. Independent experts and tribunals estimate that China conducts 60,000 to 100,000 organ transplants annually, far exceeding explained sources. Given this overwhelming discrepancy, the question naturally arises: from where did tens of thousands of organs originate? Investigations indicate the existence of forced organ harvesting. Congressional testimony has estimated that 25,000 to 50,000 prisoners may be subjected to forced organ transplants each year. Imprisoned religious and ethnic groups, such as Falun Gong practitioners, Uyghurs, and other Muslim minorities, account for the majority of victims. Many endure torture and die in custody, while others are described by the Kilgur Mada's investigation as being murdered by medical professionals for their vital organs. Human beings are treated as resources. This crisis is global in scope and moral in nature. Modern culture often celebrates ambition and profit, but when greed becomes unchecked, compassion erodes. The Apostle Paul warned, "For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil." Money itself is not condemned, but the love of it. When gain becomes supreme, exploitation is rationalized. Prophecy describes a final system in which economic power becomes centralized and morally corrupted. Human trafficking is not the entirety of that system, but it is consistent with its spirit. Gordon Gekko's famous line from Wall Street, "Greed is good," captures the mindset of fallen humanity. He expands greed to include life, money, love, and knowledge as the engines of progress. That same attitude is reflected in the beast and the future Babylonian system. It gives voice to what Satan, the god of this world, would say. When that system collapses into destruction, the world will mourn. The purpose of examining these matters is not to stir fear, but understanding. Jesus warned that troubling conditions would characterize the last days, yet he also said, "See that you are not troubled." Awareness should lead to steadiness, not panic. When injustice increases, it confirms Scripture rather than undermining it. The bodies and souls of men are counted among the merchandise of the Babylonian system, an economic order in which slavery, human trafficking, and even the harvesting of organs are woven into the fabric of life itself. Nothing more clearly reveals the depth of human depravity. Yet the systems of man will fall, and God will raise up his kingdom. He will shatter the shackles of the oppressed, and captives will go free. Isaiah declares liberty to the captives, and Jeremiah speaks of bonds being broken. Revelation 18 does not end with exploitation triumphant. It ends with judgment upon Babylon. God's kingdom is not built on profit, but righteousness. In that kingdom, no one will be bought or sold. No one will be exploited. The vulnerable will be protected. Justice will replace greed. Human trafficking reminds us how far the world has drifted. Prophecy reminds us how the story ends. When Revelation speaks of bodies and souls of men, it is not poetic exaggeration. It is a sober description of what happens when societies abandon the sanctity of life. Yet Scripture does not leave us without hope. The present system, however powerful, is temporary. God's kingdom is permanent. So we remain rooted in Scripture, watching the times, and confident in the promises of God.